you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today I'm giving you the update to the Almost Immortal Warrior tank build for the Murkmire DLC. And this has been used a lot in the past. This had an update almost every single patch since Tamriel, and it's still really strong, if not stronger than before. Now, this is built around being able to obviously keep hold of the aggro of the targets, keep the bosses, keep the adds, all that good stuff, survive, sustain, and take the pressure off your group. This can also protect your group with damage shields as well, and supply war horns, and a buff from one of your sets as well, which is actually quite handy for those DPS up front. Anyway, first of all, we're going to go into the stats. We are sitting on 47.5k max health, 15.6k max stamina, 1.5k magical recovery, but if we pop a potion, that'll be a lot higher, 1.8. And we are sitting on 34k spell resist, which yes is above cap, but we have high resistances in our passive, and 31.6k physical resistance. Now the cap for resist is 33,200. However, if we have a minor buff from our healers or whatever else you've got in the group, which will stack with our major buff that we do have, we will almost hit that cap. And if you gold out 2 pieces of your armor based on what I've got here, you will actually hit cap with that buff applied. So we can get it anyway. The reason the mag pool is so low, the actual pool itself, is because mag as a whole, as a resource, if the more you have, the stronger your skills are if it's a damage-based skill. But we're not using any damage-based skills. We're actually using just utility. So we're using shields and stuff like that, which don't get stronger, the ones we're using, with our max magicka. So instead of having a really large pool and just running it bone dry and then we have to wait for ages for it to come back, we actually have high recovery instead. So our recovery covers the loss. Every time it goes down, it boosts straight back up again really fast. Now there's a way to change this if you want more. And we've got 64 points into health, of course. We're a stage 4 vampire. We're using the Atronach Mundus Stone, so we have more recovery. Now, the food we're using is max health, max stamina. So, in block intense fights where you have to block a lot, or a lot more than you normally would, that's why we use this food. So it's got more stamina on 15.6k. Now, if you use max health, max magic recovery food, which is Frothgar stuff from Orsinium, then, of course, our maximum recovery goes up to 2127. With a potion, that is actually 2471. So we can use our utility abilities, our shields and such, a lot more. It's very high recovery. So we can basically spam them. Now, obviously, if you use that type of food, the risk is that your stamina's gone low. Now, the way to recover from that, I will get to in some of the skills and passives. It'll make a lot more sense later. But basically, our heavy attack and our igneous shields can cover this all day long. But it's a personal preference. If you want more stamina and you're really struggling with that kind of stuff, but you still want to use this food, you can alter your attributes and put less into health and more into stamina. But remember, some of our skills, it's vital that we have high health because they benefit from a larger pool. The more you have, the stronger they are. But we're going to go over that. Anyway, let's get into the skills. Put our other food back on. It's not important right now. First of all, if you are familiar with these already, of course you can skip if you want, but if you do it at your own risk because you will probably end up asking questions that are already answered. I will go over tips, tricks, and all that kind of stuff as we go. Now, damage shields were changed in Murkmire, and what I mean by they were changed is before they had a flat value and they didn't consider resistances. So, for example, if you had a 4k damage shield and you got hit for 4k damage, it would be removed. Now it considers your resistance first, not your block mitigation, by the way, your resistance. So if you are on 33,200, your resistance cap that you've just hit is actually 50% mitigation. So now that the resistance are considered first, that 4k hit is halved. It's 50% of what it would have been. So that 4k hit is now a 2, which means you've still got your damage shield for another hit of equivalent strength. So, damage shields got a lot stronger based on the fact that your resistance count first. So, if you don't have your own damage shield and you are receiving a damage shield from a tank, especially a high strength one, then your resistances are going to be key there. It's really important. So, basically, igneous shields got reduced in terms of its overall strength. So, whereas before this would have been somewhere around the region of a 15k, 16k damage shield, it's now pushing about 12. But 50% of that is mitigated because of our resists. So it's really powerful. This shield here, this damage shield, is in the Earth and Heart skill line. It starts off as Obsidian Shield, but you morph it into Igneous Shield. This will give you almost 4k damage shield for your group. Up to 6 people, including you. This is very important. Anytime you activate this, you will apply a damage shield to them and give yourself 150% of the actual damage shield itself. So you'll get about 12k, they'll get about 4. But remember I said that we have high magicka recovery? That is because we can actively spam this. We can basically keep it up all the time, especially if we have a mag pot running and we have major intellect, which is really, really, really handy. Normally most people have a really high magic pool and they spam this like 2 or 3 times and they have to wait for all their recovery to come back. We can keep this up before its cooldown is even run out, or its duration even. Now obviously in really, really, really high damage incoming fights, you're going to want to use this a lot more often. So as long as you can manage your recovery, you change your food, and you can spam it a lot more than you could before while utilizing your other damage shields as well. Our magicka recovery comes back so fast, even if you block for a couple of seconds, it will still recover and you're back. It's really, really nice. So utilize this as much as possible. However, something to consider. When you use this, it is based off of your maximum health. That's very, very important. Maximum health. So the more health you have, the stronger this damage shield. The less health you have, the weaker the damage shield. So if you are a squish and you don't have much mag recovery and you want to utilize this as much as possible, you are not being very effective at the moment. You need high health to make this very strong if you're going to use it. Also note, when you activate this, you grant yourself major mending, increasing all of the healing that you do to yourself by 25%. It's very, very nice. Now, this does count as healing done for other people as well, so if you had a heal that would help others, that would contribute, but we do not. All of our heals are for ourselves. Now, the next ability is in the Draconic Power skill line. This is our base heal if we don't have any heals coming from elsewhere. You don't want to spam this either, and this is also based off of your max health. If you read this very carefully, it starts off as Dragon Blood and you morph it to Green Dragon Blood, third ability you unlock in the Draconic Power skill line. And for 23 seconds, you are given a buff, which gives you major fortitude, major endurance, and minor vitality, increasing your health recovery, your stam recovery, and your healing received. Your healing received is an 8% bonus, by the way. So, the whole time this is on, you get those 3 buffs. You can see them at the bottom there. Keep this on at all times, because if you activate this, you will actually heal as well. And it's based off of your missing health. 37% of your missing health. So the higher your health pool, the stronger that percentage bonus is going to be, and the bigger heal you'll get. So you can actually go down to almost dead, crit this, and heal to full. Now the way to boost this, remember I said we want to spam damage shields a lot, is that gives us 25% increased heals. As you can see now, that's no longer 37% of your missing health, that's 45%. The reason we want to have high health is if we use this is because if we have a massive, massive health bar, it will take us longer and longer and longer and longer to get down to really low health, and we can utilize this a lot more efficiently because we only have to use it once rather than spamming it 10 times before we die. It's really, really useful if you have high health. So understand how this works first before you spam it. You can go quite risky, you can go really low health, and 45% of the missing health, excluding a crit, can actually fill your bar very, very quickly. One problem you'll find with squishier tanks is they tend to put this on and just spam and spam and spam until they run out of magic and wonder why they're dead. It's because they've got a low health bar. If your health bar is really low and you lose 20k health, say for example you have, I don't know, 32k health right now. You go down to 10k health. You just lost 22k health. You are really squished now. You're almost dead. You're going to pop this, and then you're going to get hit for the same damage. You're going to pop it again. You can see where I'm going. It's going to drain your resources. But if you have 47k health and you lose 20k, you've still got 27 left. You're way over half. Don't even need to use this yet. You can still get hit another time for the same amount of damage before you use it. You would use this at least half as often if you have more health, and it's twice as effective. It's really, really good. Anyway, stop waffling on about that. That's very important, but you will have to manage that yourself and see how strong it is once you get really low health. Be risky with it. Now, Sword and Board. Pierce Armor is the third ability we've got. It's the first ability you unlock in the Sword and Shield skill line. First ability. I've seen this in pugs recently where people are spamming this because it comes straight out of PvP. Just be aware, this is a taunt. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, a taunt will gain the aggression of the target you stab. So if you poke an enemy with this, for the next 15 seconds it's going to hit you and nobody else. Excluding area of effect abilities, of course, but it's going to be focused on you. So if you're a tank, you need this. If you're not, you do not. Unless, of course, you're in PvP stabbing people. But if you are and you join a dungeon, don't go hitting the targets with this because you'll taunt the boss off the tank and they'll get really, really miffed. Anyway, what this does, this will taunt the target for 15 seconds, meaning you've got its aggression for 15 seconds. It's on you only, but it also applies a debuff for 12 seconds. You don't want the debuff to run out, so really you want to keep this up every 12 instead of every 15, but you've got that 3-second kind of safety area just in case you forgot. Now, Major Breach and Major Fracture will reduce the target's physical resistance and spell resistance by 5280, increasing your group's damage. Now, the reason that works that way is because generally in PvE, targets have 18,200 physical and spell resistance. This removes 5280 of that, meaning that you go through their armor doing more damage. When you get them to 0, obviously, with buffs and debuffs and all that kind of stuff, you can do a lot more damage as a DPS. But you want to kind of strip those resists so they don't have that buffer to negate some of your damage. You're reducing their mitigation effects versus what you can pump out to them. So this is a very, very important base major debuff, and you should have this up at all times. Absorb Magicka, this is the third ability in the Sword and Shield skill line. This is very, very important. While slotted, by the way, this starts off as Defensive Posture. While slotted, you will actually gain 8% reduction to cost while blocking, and also mitigate 8% additional damage through your block as well. So this is very, very strong, very, very tanky type sword and board ability. Rather than your stab and debuff types, this is your defense, if you like, since it's called Defensive Posture anyway. It wasn't too obvious, was it? However, this grants you a damage shield. This damage shield right here. The strength of it is 23779. You can take that much damage in the face from a Magicka projectile, from a spell projectile, and it will completely absorb it and heal you for 17% of your max health. So all you have to do is put this on, take a fireball, and you will heal. But your healing bonuses from Igneous Shields also stacks. As you can see here, it's now 20% of your max health, not 17. So Igneous first, this second. Igneous first, heal second. Always, you can see where this is going. Always Igneous Shield first before you do any healing. It's very, very strong indeed, especially in situations like Lord Warden in Imperial City Prison, when the 4 shades are up. Taunt all 4 shades and you'll see that they are heating you like hell with Magicka projectiles. Pop this on, you won't die. Absorb it, heal, take a couple more in the face, absorb it, heal. You can see where we're going with this. It's very, very strong. Situation depends on whether you can utilize it or not, but it's really strong throughout. And if not, you can always use it as a block mitigator anyway. The next ability is Bone Surge. Now this is from the Undaunted skill line. You need Undaunted 4, I think, to get this. I don't remember exactly, I think it is. Starts off as Bone Shield. You morph this into Bone Surge specifically. Now what this will do is this will give you a damage shield equivalent to 30% of your maximum health for 6 seconds. Now, again, this is another skill that requires you to have high max health. You can see here, Igneous Shields, the strength of this is based on your max health. Dragon Blood, the strength or efficiency of this is based on your max health. Absorb Magic, this is based on your max health as well, based on the heal you receive from it. And Bone Shield is based on your max health as well. So the higher the health, the more effective this is for you. Also, if an ally synergizes it, 3 other people, including them, will receive a damage shield equivalent of 50% of their max health for 6 seconds, and they will gain Major Vitality, increasing the heals that they receive for 30%. So this is very, very strong. If anyone takes this synergy, you protect your group alongside this, because they do stack, and they will get a bigger heal from any heals that they receive or apply to themselves. So you can alternate them, or you can put them both on together. Now, just be aware that although they do stack, which is very, very useful, this costs Magicka, and we have high magic recovery. This costs stamina. We don't have that much recovery because stamina does not recover while you are blocking. So get in the habit of understanding that this can face tank like hell. If it's a heavy attack, block it. If it's not, you may be able to just swing heavy attacks and use shields to get your stamina back while still taking damage without actually dying. Some targets, a lot of targets in fact, for this particular build, you can actually face tank without doing this. Don't hold block just because the button is there and you can do so. If you can heavy attack, because then you'll be able to block for a lot longer. You need to get back your resources. Heavy attacks will return stamina, so you need to make use of them as much as possible. Now, we're going to make a lot more sense when we get to the passives, but for now, just understand that this is useful not just for you and your group as far as shields are concerned, but also for your heals. This is useful for you and your group and their heals, and of course your damage mitigation. You don't actually have to block while you have this on in most situations. You can pretty much survive from your damage shields and heavies. Once I get to the passives, the heavies will make a lot more sense, and I'll show exactly how much recovery or sustain you can actually get back from them alongside Igneous Shields because of the Earth and Heart passives. Shield Discipline, quite possibly one of the most underrated and overpowered ultimates in the game. Very, very cheap, 135 ultimate. This is your oh shit button. And this is in your one hand and shield skill line. You need level 50 to unlock this. Level 50 in sword and board. And what you do basically is you will activate a shield. Let me go outside and we'll go and hit the skeleton in a minute. Which will negate the cost of all of your sword and board abilities for 7 seconds. It will block automatically for 7 seconds. And you can run at full speed. So basically your stab, your taunt, which is this one here. That will be free. Your absorb magical will be free. Everything will be free. Let's see if we can build up some ultimate right quick. Ignore that ability. We haven't got that far yet, but if you're familiar with it, you'll know why my ultimate is building up so quickly. Spoiler alert. Okay, here we go. One of these. Block for free. Run around full speed. And look, it doesn't cost me anything. Stab, stab, stab. Absorb magica. It's all free. That isn't used all the time, but that's your oh shit button, and you can use it as and when you need to. If you've got no stamina left for God knows what reason, you can't heavy attack, the boss is about to hit you really hard, pop this. If the group is about to wipe, but you know you're going to get stunned trying to res someone, pop this, you won't get stunned or knocked down, and you can res people while you're still blocking. It's really, really useful. Lots of different situations for that. This is a flex slot. However, I'm going to tell you why this is so useful. We are a vampire, of course, we're stage 4, and elusive mist is what I use on this particular slot. Now, you can change this for flappy wings or anything like that if you're familiar with certain tank skills or other abilities that can be utilized on the Dragonknight, depending on the situation. But sometimes I use this. What this does is this will put you into surprise mist form. Any damage you take is reduced by 75%, and yes, your mitigating effects do apply as well, including your resists and everything like that, and your damage shields. It is incredibly strong. Now, just pay attention to this, by the way. First of all, it's 75% mitigation to all damage. However, some is not included. You will gain major expedition for 4 seconds during this time as well. Your heals will be disabled, so you can't actually be healed. Your magical recovery is disabled, so be careful. We have high mag recovery, but you just stopped it for activating this ability, so time it. And also, it removes all snares and makes you immune to mobilization effects. So, if you're in a snare, if you're in a root or something like that, this will break it. But, actual bosses, when they heavy attack you, will knock you down. So, if you're up against Sanctum Ophidia, you're on the Serpent, the last boss, and you pop this and he's doing a heavy attack, he will knock you over, so don't do it. However, if you're up against War Priests or anything like that, general adds that have a normal heavy attack, any trash that has a normal heavy attack, even if they're considered elite targets and they're not an actual boss, they will not knock you down. Minotaurs in Falkreath won't knock you down. Axes in Arthurian Archive, you can put this on and they will hit nothing but fucking air. It's really, really, really powerful. It's going to take some practice, but if you can utilize this, you're going to get a lot of good results from it. Anyway, I don't see enough people using it, but hopefully this will kind of now start getting some people to pay attention to it. It's been in the build ever since the very beginning, but obviously more people watch now, so who knows. Anyway, the next ability, Invigorate and Drain. This is disgusting. If you have a window of opportunity, the boss is taunted, he's not hitting you too hard, you've got no heavy attacks incoming, utilize this skill. This will heal you, again, based on max health, based on missing health, but obviously the bigger the pool, the bigger the heal per percentage. 22% of your missing health back while channeling this ability per second. Yes, Ignis Shields does also boost it. So, I mean, you have to be really quick to do that, but it does. 27% instead. Also, every second, not only do you receive a heal, but you also gain 5 ultimate a second. This is absolutely incredible, especially if you want to build Warhorns or block ultis or something like that if you're in trouble. So, you got the boss here. He's not doing much to you. You definitely got his attention. Look at my ultimate. You gain 3 ultimate a second for a light or heavy attack for 8 seconds. Okay? You can see it going up 3 seconds at a time. Now watch what happens when I put Invigorate and Drain on. That is filthy. Really, really, really fast ulti gain. This is especially useful if you're an off tank as well, because if someone else has already got the aggro and you don't have to do anything, just pump out a couple of shields every so often and keep your drain up. And you will be doing stupid, stupid ultis left, right, and center. It's really, really powerful. So I would definitely encourage people to utilize that, but not at the expense of blocking and holding aggro. Make sure that you can still do that. Just use it when you get a window of opportunity. Now this is in the Vampire skill line, as we'd already mentioned, and it's the first ability you unlock. You get it before Invigorate and Drain. Sorry. You get it before Mist Form, so you will have this before this. But again, Mist Form, if you don't want to use it and you don't have the opportunity to use it in the particular content that you're in, you can swap it for Flappy Wings if you prefer, or maybe Deep Breath, depending on what the content is. That's your choice. It's not something I'm going to go too much into detail over. Inner Rage, Range Taunt. Hello. You do need this. You've got to have this. Undaunted, level 3. This starts off as Inner Fire. Morph it to Inner Rage. The reason you morph it to Inner Rage is because this one has a magical cost, not a stamina cost. And we don't have a lot of stamina. We are going to heavy attack a lot. We're going to get lots back from our passives. But we still do want to utilize our magic bar as much as possible because we have really high recovery. Now, this will actually taunt the target from range. Very simple. You'll see a little... There you go. Now he's taunted. Now, watch this very carefully. I don't know if I can get away with it. Where's my magic potions? Oh, it's not going to show because nobody else in the group. Ah, it sucks. We'll read it instead. I can't see it if no one else is in there because no one will take a synergy. But basically what this does, it has a 38% chance to put a kind of a multicolored swirling effect on the target. I'm pretty sure you can't do it solo. No, you can't because no one can take the freaking synergy. We're right. Now, when you see that effect as a DPS, that's your cue to take that synergy. If you're at range, you can actually activate it, and it says here that it does 3, 1, 8, 7 magic damage in area of effect. It does not. It hits so bloody hard. It makes kind of a pulsing, spreading effect for 2 seconds, and then bursts in the area of effect, and everything inside of it will get blasted with a stupid amount of damage. I've seen that hit in excess of 20, 30k a pop. It's really, really nice. So not only do you get a range taunt, but your group can synergize it as well, get resources back, and blow stuff up. It's really, really nice. So get that. Unrelenting Grip, this is very, very, very important. You obviously will want to chain targets in so they can come to you. Fourth ability in the Ardent Flame skill line starts off as Fiery Grip. You want Unrelenting Grip, not the other one. The other one will pull you to them. This one will pull the enemy to you. Now, you can't pull stuff that is immune to CC. If they can't be stunned, they can't be chained, all that kind of stuff. And if you are up against one of these targets, the game rewards you basically because like, oh no, wrong target. Or wrong time, because it could be CC'd for now, you will actually get back 100% of the ability's cost. So you didn't waste anything. So some targets can be pulled, some can't. If they've been stunned previously already, they might be on cooldown. You can't pull them in yet. But look, my magic bar is just going to stay full because I can't actually pull him. But if you could, he would land here. So you're going to need this to pull all the adds in. You'd probably just grab him, grab him, grab him, and then you can hold them all still. That is going to take some practice. Watch your magicka sustain. However, if you do accidentally pull the wrong target and it can't be pulled, you will get that back, so you're fine. That is a very, very simple ability, but it's going to take some practice kind of targeting and stuff like that. Choke and Talons, this is what you want to do afterwards. It's your combo. So basically, you go into the Draconic Power skill line. Second ability you unlock starts off as Dark Talons, morph it to Choking Talons. Now this will actually pull up some claws from the ground. Up to 6 enemies around you will be pinned on the spot, and they will have their damage reduced by 15% for 7 seconds. So it's actually a debuff for them as well, making them hit you and other people less for less damage. It's really, really nice. It does a bit of magic damage, but that's not relevant. Basically, it immobilizes them on the spot. So if you can combo those together, you pull this dude in, and then talons him up. See all that smoke on the ground? That's not actually what it looks like. You can't... There you go, that's what it looks like. The claws come out from under the ground. All the enemies around will be pinned. So chain them all in, pin them up, make sure you got your taunts and hold them still. Every time that drops off, hold them again, make sure they stay there. It's really, really useful. You do need to have plenty of CC in PvE, especially in big trash pools. Chain them in, choke them up, make sure they're taunted. In the meantime, keep up your damage shields for your group and keep up your sustain with heavy attacks. Now, Aggressive Warhorn, this is a flex slot. The reason being is because you might not want to use this, you might not have it, and you might want to use something else. But this comes from the Assault skill line. You need to PvP for this, so you can do Battlegrounds or something, or just follow a Zerg until you've got it unlocked and then get out. What this will do is this will grant your group 10% increased max magicka and stamina. It used to do health as well, but it doesn't. Health is now in the base of just one bonus, which is minor toughness. It was on here, but now it's on the Warden instead as a passive. So if a Warden heals someone, you get that bonus. Warhorn doesn't apply anymore. But while it's active, you get that bonus for 30 seconds. But for 9.5 seconds of it, you also increase everybody's critical damage output by giving them major force buff. So this is very, very good for kind of those burn moments. You just pop a Warhorn and everyone goes nuts. But if you don't want to use this, you don't have to. You can actually utilize another really, really, really good oh shit button, which is in the Earth and Heart skill line, called Magma Shell, starting off as Magma Armor. Now this, when you activate it, you will give a damage shield to allies around you for 100% of their maximum health for 9 seconds. And it stacks with Igneous Shield, and it stacks with Bone Shield, And for 10.8 seconds, you cannot receive any damage in any hit, unless it's a guaranteed one-shot mechanic, for more than 3% of your maximum health. So the bigger your health bar, the less damage you take per hit. It's disgusting. You basically have a God mode button with this particular ultimate. It's cheaper than Warhorn as well, so you can use it a lot more often if you prefer. So you can go full out group mitigation with this if you really want to. Now, let's look at the passives. Passives are very, very important. Of course, there are flex slots. There are other things you can use, bits and pieces that you can change if you really want to, but this is the base layout that I use for this particular build. Now, Ardent Flame is not necessarily essential for everything, although this is actually quite nice. This one increases the damage of your burn and poison status effects. It doesn't really matter to us. It's not important. But when you apply burning to an enemy, you restore 500 magicka, and when you apply poisoned, you can restore 500 stamina, and this effect can happen once every 5 seconds. Now, the Unrelenting Grip does actually do flame damage when it hits. Also, if you have Magma Shell on, that also does flame damage when it hits. So, if you do activate those abilities and you do apply a burn and status effect, you will get magic back from those targets once every 5 seconds. So, although it's a very small passive, it is actually somewhat relevant. So, it does benefit you to get this combustion passive. This one here increases your direct damage of Ardent Flame ability, reduce the enemy's movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds. That also applies to Unrelenting Grip. Although they are CC'd, they've come in, they can't be chained or whatever again, you do slow down their movement speed. Not hugely essential, but it is something that does kind of help if they try and run away afterwards, if you didn't claw them up quick enough. So that can also be useful. Increase the damage of your abilities by 3%, and the duration by 2. That is not very important. So I wouldn't necessarily use that. You can have it if you want, if you've got enough points, but if not, dump it. Increases the damage of your flame area effect abilities by 6%, not relevant. And decreases the cost of your poison stamina abilities, also not relevant. We don't use poison abilities. We're not really doing this for damage, and we're not using anything from that skill line that does damage, apart from the Unrelenting Grip. But, again, that doesn't have an increased duration, so there's no point. It's just chain. You can get them if you want, if you're going to utilize other stuff, especially if you're going to use Fiery Breath, but we won't go over that one today. It's not important unless you've got loads of people using fire and you don't have a mag DK. Now, this you're going to need. Increases the amount of damage you can block by 10%. Of course, we're a tank. We want that. While Draconic Power ability is active, your healing received is increased by 12%. Now, when Dragon Blood is on, when it is active, you get an 8% bonus to healing received in the form of Minor Vitality. That is a buff type, by the way. So, while this is active, we have that bonus. 8% healing received. Our heals and received heals from other people. But, for having it active, we also benefit from this 12% here. So we've got an even bigger heal and receive bonus. This one here, increase the health recovery for each Draconic Power ability slotted. Why that says 4% instead of 5, I don't know for that one bonus, but whatever. We don't worry about health recovery that much anyway because we're a vampire, but the next one is relevant. Increases the range of your instant melee cast attack abilities by 2 meters. We do taunt. It is a melee ability, or close range instant melee attack, so we will need to utilize this just in case we're at 1 or 2 meters off of the target. Maybe it's got an awkward hitbox or something and we miss the taunt. We don't want to miss the taunt, so get this. This one as well, increase your spell resistance. Stand to reason. We do want spell resistance because we want to mitigate the damage, so get that. Earth and Heart is essential. This is the really important stuff that might have been a little bit confusing to start with at the beginning of the video, but increase the duration of your Earth and Heart abilities by 20%. Your damage shield lasts 6 seconds. Now it lasts 7.2. Obviously, you want to get that. This is stupid. If you use an ultimate, any ultimate, you will restore 52 health, 46 stamina, and 46 magicka for every ultimate point cost. So the more expensive the ultimate, the more stuff you get back. But no matter what ultimate you use, you will get something. So if you are at 0 resources, you can't block, you can't do anything, you haven't got time for a heavy attack, and you do pop this oh shit button right here, you will get resources back. All of those digits that you just saw there, you will get back 135 times. Because that's how much the ultimate costs. It's disgusting. So, the more expensive the ultimate, the better. But any ultimate will give you resources back. And this one is your kind of, uh-oh, I'm out of resources. I'll pop this, and then you can heavy attack from underneath it. It's really nice. Warhorn will pretty much fill your bars. Now, when you cast an Earth and Heart ability, you grant your group Minor Brutality for 20 seconds. Now, this was buffed in Murkmire. It used to be 5% weapon damage increase for 20 seconds. Now it's 10% weapon damage increase. So every time you pop that Igneous Shield, you are buffing your group and reapplying that bonus. Also, if you're in combat, you will gain 3 ultimate once every 6 seconds just for using it. So that will contribute as well to your ulti gain. Helping Hand is probably the most important passive above Battle Roar, and that is that if you use an Earth and Heart ability, you get 990 stamina back. This is why our stam pool is so low. We don't need loads and loads of stamina because our mag recovery is massive. We can spam igneous shields and we can get almost 1,000 stamina back for doing so every single time. So let's burn some of this out. Remember earlier I told you about heavy attack igneous, if you've got enough recovery to do so. Let's burn some stamina. Get rid of it all, get rid of it, get rid of it. Get rid of some more. If we hold block, we can't actually recover any stamina, so I want it to go completely bone dry. There we go. Now, as you can see there, my bar has only got 423 stamina in it. 2.7%. That's probably not even enough for a block. In fact, based on our stats, we'll go over that later, I think our block is something like 655. So I can't even block right now. Now watch this. Heavy attack, igneous shields. If you're using a potion as well, especially a tripod or something, 3 heavy attacks, 3 igneous, I'm pretty much full. Now while blocking, you can still use igneous shields. So let's run out of stamina again. You can get your stamina back really quickly. That's why you should be heavy attacking if you're not blocking. Igneous shields. Easy. I brought blocks, probably lost half of it. You can get it up there again. Now if you're using the other food, remember the one with the higher mag recovery on it, it's even quicker. Obviously you've got a smaller bar, but it will go up much faster because you can use it more often. But what I would recommend you do, I'm going to get to the passives in a moment, is make sure that you get medicinal use and use crafted pots, not these little trash pots, because I'm running out of resources, recovery from that pot, because it's just a rubbish one. But if you use a really expensive one, then that's different. Now, more passives. Where are we going? Done Earth and Heart, we're done there. Sword and Board. Reduces the stamina cost of your one-hand and shield abilities by 10% and reduces the cost of blocking by 36%. That is incredibly important. You want to get the cost down, otherwise you're going to drain your resources shit quick, and that is dangerous, especially since we have such a low bar. Now, of course, I've said already, you can heavy attack and igneous and keep your stamina up pretty much all day long, but just remember those heavy attacks must be blocked. You want the cost down. Increases your weapon damage by 5% and the amount of total damage you can block by 20%. Now, the block mitigation is fine. The extra damage is irrelevant. So just ignore the 5% bonus there and take advantage of the block mitigation or the block damage incoming. Improves your standard bash attacks. Bash dealing 100% additional damage and costs 40% less stamina. Now, the damage, meh, who cares? But the reduction to cost, you are going to be interrupting targets like this. That was taught to you by the tutorial, by the way. Level 3. You're in level 3. You go through this quick time event and you get taught how to do this. Anything that's got red sparks coming out of it, bash it. Every single player can do that. There's no excuse for it. I see so many people being lazy as hell and expecting everyone else to do it because they just didn't pay attention to the tutorial. Red, flashy sparks, bash it. Very simple. Now, we've got a couple more. This one here increases the amount of damage you can block from projectiles and ranged attacks by 15%. Of course, more mitigation, we do want that. Increases your movement speed while blocking by 60%. While you're blocking, you're quite slow. This will speed you up, so you can move around and get to targets quicker if you have to hold block on the move. However, just remember your block ultimate, that doesn't apply because you move full speed. Now, heavy armor. Light armor, we're not using none. We're not using any light armor at all. We're using all 7, all heavy. So we don't need any of these passives, none of them. This one here is essential. Obviously, this increases our resistance by 2536. Each piece of heavy armor worn will increase this. So we've got a maximum bonus to our resistances because we're using all heavy armor. So this is very, very strong. Increases your health recovery by 4% for each piece of heavy armor equipped, which is increased by 28% because we've got 7 pieces, but that's irrelevant because we're vampire anyway. You restore 108 magicka and stamina when you take damage for each piece of heavy armor equipped. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. So just for taking damage, you get 757 magic and stamina back. Now just consider this for a moment. I am in an AoE and I'm taking damage. The heavy attack will restore over 2.5k stamina just for being hit. The igneous shields will give me 990 back, and I get 757 back once every 4 seconds just for being hit in the first place. Our recovery is actually really, really good if we utilize our base mechanics in terms of resource management is concerned. But if you sit there and hold block all day, it's not going to be that good. Now, the Juggernaut passive is very, very important. For each piece of heavy armor worn, we get 2% increased max health. So we have a 14% health increase, and that is obviously beneficial to our overall build because I've already explained where each skill benefits from max health. Increase your magicka and stamina from your heavy attacks, which you restore by 25%. So this here gives you a set amount of stamina back. Your CPs can contribute to that, and for having heavy armor, 5 pieces in fact or more, you will get a 25% increase. So you must heavy attack. Heavy attack as much as you can, as long as it's not going to be a negative effect and you're going to get knocked down by the boss. Increases your healing received by 8%. We have 8% for having a draconic power. Sorry, that's wrong. We have 8% for having Dragon Blood active. We have a 12% from having a draconic power ability active. And we have a further 8% healing received here. Our healing received is through the roof. Not to mention, of course, if you hit Igneous Shields first, our heal, whatever it may be, will be stronger by 25%. Vampire, of course, you want to get these. This will increase your mag recovery on a stamina recovery by 10% all the time. Obviously, your stamina recovery doesn't contribute at all while you're blocking. But while your shield is down, which it will be a lot of the time if you're heavy attacking, you will gain this bonus. Your magic recovery will stay with you all the time. Undeaf is disgusting. Reduces the amount of damage taken by up to 33% based on your missing health while you're below 50%. So the more health we have, the longer it takes us to get to 50%. And then that massive buffer under 50% makes us get tankier and tankier and tankier. And yes, this does benefit with our resists, our damage shield, and our misform if we have to. It's really powerful. Also, this will lessen the severity of your health recovery debuff, if you like, for being a vampire. So you can get that if you want. This I use just for PvP or sneaking around because it's really fast. But this is crucial, and so is this one. Fighter's Guild, you don't actually need that much in Fighter's Guild. I'm pretty much not using any at all. However, you do want to make sure that you get this here. Banish the Wicked. You generate 9 ultimate when you kill an undead Daedra or werewolf. You may get the kill and blow, and if you do, you get ultimate back. Get this passive. Undaunted is essential. Activating an ally's synergy will restore 4% of your max health, stamina, and magicka. So all 3 bars get 4% of your total back every time you take a synergy with 0 cooldown. Take those synergies. Every single one you see, no matter whether it's a damage ability, a damage shield ability, or a resource management ability, you will get stuff back. Really, really important. Don't leave them on the ground for somebody else. That's just inefficient and stupid. Increase your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per type of armor worn. We're wearing 1 type of armor, so we get a 2% bonus across the board for all 3 resources. Our stamina is low, so extra bonuses towards that is not going to make a huge difference. Our mag is low, so that's not going to make a huge difference either. And our health is already covered by our heavy armor. If we dropped 2 pieces of heavy armor, our resist would go down. Our constitution passive would drop. We would then also drop 4% max health. Putting that on top of here, giving us 3 types of armor, we'd still get the 4% max health back. So our health would be the same, but our resistance as another passive would be lower. Then we'd get a tiny, tiny, tiny bonus to extra stamina and magicka, which probably won't even put our mag over 10k. It won't even touch it. It's useless. So I would highly recommend 7 heavy. For this build anyway. Especially since the 2 sets that we're using are there. I mean, you can use it with your monster sets and change stuff, but I really wouldn't recommend it. Stick to the heavy armor. This is supposed to be as tanky as hell, so that's why. These passives are not important, don't worry about those. Except for, of course, this. If you are using any support abilities, you can, of course, get Magicka Aid, which will increase your recovery for each ability slotted, but we're not using it, so don't bother with that. We are an Orc, of course. We have an increased max health of 6% and increased max stamina of 6%. We also have an increased healing received bonus of 5%. Remember all the healing received bonuses we have so far? This will contribute as well. Health recovery is irrelevant because we're a vampire, so don't worry about that. Plus, they nerfed it ages ago. It used to be 30%. Increases the damage done with melee attacks, meaning your light and heavy attacks will hit harder, but that's not relevant. And reduces the cost of sprinting by 12%, which is handy because we sometimes do sprint through dungeons and stuff, so we use less stamina. And our speed is up, so we can be in front and we can make sure that we taunt stuff ahead of those YOLOers who just do not listen. Alchemy, this is what I was getting to earlier. If you're using crafted pots, and I would highly recommend that you do so, tripots would be best for you because they give you health, stamina, and magic back, and they give you the 3 bonuses to recovery. The 2 bonuses for health and stamina recovery are already applied by your Dragon Blood, but the magicka recovery that you'll get from the tripots, as well as the resources back, will give you 47.6 seconds of uptime with it, which is really, really high, and your cooldown is 45, so you can have those potions up 100% of the time, or just actively use them when you need to. But there will be a link in the description for an alchemy guide showing you how to get it to max in 15 minutes. Max this all out, get medicinal use unlocked at level 50, and then just dump all your points again and just keep this one passive. Now, we're going to get into the gear. Now, for those of you that have watched this before and been really happy with it in the past, you are going to be smiling because you don't have a lot of work to do. However, there are some options, of course, and I will put those on the website as well because there have been several versions of this build ever since its release and several different combinations of armor. Every single one of them is still 100% viable, but this is what I'm using now. It's very, very nice. Now, we're using 5 pieces of Leechen. Now, this has got 1 bonus to health, 1 bonus to healing taken, which again is healing received. It's the same thing. We've got loads of that already. Another bonus to healing received or healing taken. And then when you take damage, you have an 8% chance to summon a cloud of leech and poison under the attacker that deals 1-3-2-8 poison damage in 4-meter radius every second for 5 seconds with 0 cooldown. As soon as it's off, it can reapply again and heals you for 100% of the damage done. Now, this looks on paper like you're going to get a 1.3k heal once a second and that's shit. False. First of all, consider all of the heal and receive bonuses that we have. We have tons, and we have some in our CPs as well. Secondly, this counts as damage over time, regardless of what it says on the stats here. And it can be boosted with your CPs as well. It can also be boosted by your major mending when you put on an igneous shield, and so on and so forth. All of these bonuses and healing done and healing received all stack up. The highest heal I've ever seen out of this is way over 30k. It gets ridiculous. It doesn't proc all the time, but when it does, it really, really counts. And the more enemies bunched up in an area of effect, the stronger this gets because each target will heal you for X amount of health. On average, once you've got all your bonuses and passives running, you're talking about 2.2, maybe 2.4k for every single target hit every 1 second. So if you've got 5 targets, that's over 10k heal every second. It's disgusting. Also, really large bosses cover a larger real estate, and this seems to proc base on that as well, so you get an increased heal from them. It's really, really, really powerful. You can survive a stupid amount of damage and take a massive amount of pressure off the healers. Healers no longer have to look for you and spam Breath of Life because you're squishy and dying. Now they can focus on the rest of the group, who are going to be healed underneath the amount of shields that you are giving them. It's really, really, really strong. I know people are like, oh, well, it's not supporting. Well, this is defending the group and taking the pressure off of people that need their resources for squishy. So this is helping the group. Your shields protect everyone, your Warhorn buffs their damage, and the next set is going to buff them as well, but we'll get over that in a minute. So basically, sword and board, defending if you can with a damage shield, because yes, that does stack with your igneous and your bone shield, and I'll even demonstrate it if you like. Igneous shield, there's your purple over the health bar, bone shield, and then the damage shield on top of it. Let me see if we can put them all on at once. Loads and loads of damage shields. So that's 3.2k on its own. Igneous is the best part of 12k, and Bone Shield is 30% of your max health as well, so it's massive. Now, you can change this to Infused if you prefer, but bear in mind, if you do that, you are going to lose 1.3k resistance across the board, and you may want to alter your CPs and or traits on your armor if you want to do that. So just bear that in mind. And of course, you can change it to a Crusher or a weapon and spell damage reduction glyph. It's entirely up to you, but I actually prefer the damage shield because it actually tends to work out really, really nice. In that instance, of course, you can put a Crusher on the back if you prefer. It's entirely up to you. I know some people are liking to use ice staves at the moment, and they have been, especially on the Atronach build, which is actually a Warden tank build of mine with an ice staff. Just a bit of a tip, if you have an ice staff on the back and you have it infused on purpose and you use a wall of elements, that can proc your glyphs every 2 seconds, depending on the glyph. Crusher, by the way, does get included into that. It's not every 2 seconds, but it has 100% uptime, and you can basically keep it on the target all the time as long as you can maintain an 8-second wall of elements every 8 seconds. But that's a little tricky, so it depends on the person. Also, it doesn't guarantee that it will go on the main boss. It will go on other ads as well, depending on which one it feels like at the time. So that you can go with an ice staff on the back if you really want, with a wall of elements to keep the Crusher up, or whatever debuff you're using, or even a damage shield, in fact. You can just keep proccing left, right, and center. But to not complicate things, sword and board on both bars, just because that's the way the build is designed. Other stuff, that's up to you to adapt. Now, Lord Warden's weapon, by the way, comes from Lord Warden on normal or veteran ICP, and the Grievous Ward, the Leech and Shield, the named one, you can't have 2 of these because they're unique, of course. This actually comes from the main quest in Imperial City Prison. So don't do the quest before 160 CP and you won't out-level it. Now, this one is just a regular one. You can get it from the chest or the last boss, or any trash in a dungeon. Now, the other set, remember, by the way, 5 leeching in any order. Sword, board, jewelry, or armor. The other set is Galenway. This comes from Cloud Rest. No, you do not have to go on to veteran to get it. You can go on normal. There are pickup groups all day long shouting in all local channels, normal Cloud Rest, need tank, blah, 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 or whatever they need. Get stuck in, stop being scared, raise your hand, get in, get your loot, get out. Easy as that. You don't have to be scared of trials. Anyone can join. Now, what this does is this will give you a max health bonus. Of course, we want max health. Minor Aegis, giving us a 5% reduction to all damage in dungeons and trials, which means we are still tanky as hell. Another heal and receive bonus, which again pushes towards more heals from the leeching, which is incredible. And after successfully blocking, you have a 50-50 chance to grant Empower to 3 allies within 15 meters, increasing the damage of their next light attack by 40%, and can happen once every 1 second. So in extreme situations, especially bosses that hit loads and loads and loads, if you are blocking, which you will be, and getting resources back with Igneous Shield so you can block some more, and getting hit with your Constitution passive so you can do some more, and in a quick heavy attack in there, you get where we're going with this. If you block, especially if you block with your ultimate as well, because it does contribute, you will actually buff 3 members close by with light attack increase. So if you've got some really, really close melees and they're doing lots of light attack ability, light attack ability, light attack ability, I'm sure you're aware of how strong light attacks are ever since Somerset. That will boost those members a lot. So we protect the group with shields. We are not squishy, so the healer can keep busy on the squishies. And we also buff people just by blocking. So don't block all the time, but when you need to, if you do, you'll buff your group. It's very, very important. Now, to contribute towards that, of course, we don't want to be throwing out loads of shapes as far as resources are concerned, so we don't want to be constantly casting resist bonuses, because it will cost us 4k magicka each time we do it, every 20 seconds, which is expensive, especially since we want to spam our Igneous Shields more. So, we use Mighty Chudan as a monster set. This gives us a massive spell resistance and physical bonus flat out. Then it also gives us max health. Then it gives us major ward and major resolve at all times. You never, ever, ever have to apply a resist buff because it is with us forever. By default, it is on us. So you don't have to mess with those resources anymore. This is from Ruins of Mazatun. You can have other sets if you want. You can use Malabeth, but you will have to slot a resist bonus if you do so, so be careful. But that will boost your healing done and received and all that good stuff as well. Or you can use Pirate Skeleton, which I've used in the past, or you can use a mixture of the two, or Lord Warden, or whatever you feel like at the time. But personally for me, Chudan is pretty much God mode. It's absolutely awesome. So you want a heavy on everything. Heavy helmet, heavy everything else, heavy shoulders. Now, for extra reduction to block cost, I would probably go sturdy on pretty much everything except for reinforced on the chest and the legs. You can go reinforced on the head if you prefer. Rather than the legs, it's entirely up to you. But 2 pieces of your large pieces is reinforced. Every single thing else in sturdy, and your shield on known hone. That way you're kind of flat out on your max resistances. If, however, you gold everything and you take even more advantage of these block cost reductions, so put them to 4% instead of 3.5, then of course you can drop 1 reinforced piece. You can go sturdy on everything except for 1 if you gold them all out. But that's expensive and that's your choice. So, 5 Glenway, 5 Leechin, 2 Chudan on the jewelry, magic recovery on everything. To boost as much magic recovery as we possibly can. You can go infused on one of the pieces if you want to increase this bonus, but just remember you will lose almost 1k max health, and that will diminish your shields and your ability to heal and stuff like that. They will be dropped because they're based on max health. But again, the choice is yours. Traits, choices are yours as far as the weapons are concerned, and sturdy on everything except reinforced on 2 and known honed on the shield. Now, champion points. Here we go. 72 points into Ironclad, meaning that all of our direct damage that we receive is reduced by 23%, and we get hit in the face a lot. 56 in Hardy and 56 in Elemental Defender, meaning that we have a 12.08% bonus to all types of damage. That 0.8, by the way, is irrelevant. As long as you go over the 1%, it counts as the flat percent. So we're getting 12% reduction to all damage, plus a 19% additional reduction to anything that is a dot, regardless of what damage type it is. And yes, they do stack. Unchained, by the way, if you do break free from anything, your next stamina ability within 5 seconds is 80% cheaper. So break free, put on a bone shield, it costs you bugger all. 27 points into quick recovery, giving us another 7% bonus to healing received. Our healing received is insane. We've got it on Galenway, we've got it twice on Leechin, we've got it in our Dragon Blood, we've got it in our Draconic Power passives, we've got it in our Heavy Armor passives, we've got shit tons of it. It's really, really important. That will boost your proc heals from Leechin all day long. It's very, very strong. 8 points into Heavy Armor Focus, giving us a 8/1/1 extra physical resistance. Now this is important because it puts us at the 31.6 area, which means, again, if we gold out with just 1 or maybe 2 pieces and we get our minor resistance bonus, we can actually cap out very, very easily. So this is just to push those tiny, tiny stats, but you can put them elsewhere if you want. Also, these 2 passives here, if you resurrect someone, and you will, you give them higher magic recovery when they get up. Also, Field Physician. You will probably block ulti and res your team. 9 times out of 10, you will end up with lots of pugs where people run around in circles and they die, regardless of how much you're trying to protect them. If that happens, drop your block ulti on, pick them up. All the damage you take is not only mitigated by your resistance and your bonus to minor Aegis on your set and the fact that you are blocking, but also you receive 15% less damage, again, for doing so. So while you're channeling that res, you take less damage. 51 points into break free, giving us a 19% reduction to cost when we break free. This is important because we don't have a lot of stamina. We don't want to waste it breaking free all the time. Get the cost down. 64 points into tenacity to increase the incoming amount of stamina we take, or receive rather, when we heavy attack. Also, that stacks with your heavy armor passives to give us a 25% bonus as well. Arcanus giving us as much magical recovery as possible. Yes, you could put 25 more points in here before you get to 100, but it will only give you a 1% bonus. It's not worth it. Use your points elsewhere. 14 points into Tumbling. Very rarely you will dodge roll. Get the cost down a little bit because we don't want to be using all of our stamina doing so. And 66 points into block cost reduction. We have sturdy traits. We have block cost reduction here. We're not using any enchants that do block cost reduction or anything like that, although you can if you want to, but remember it will affect your mag recovery, so I probably wouldn't recommend it. This has very, very high diminished returns if you go too far. There is a block cost calculator, actually, that Wooda did recently. I'll put that in the description as well, just in case you want to tweak it some more to your liking. But from my own testing so far, this is absolutely solid. Now, the difficult ones that people are like, oh, for a tank, we put 100 here, 100 here. We're done, aren't we? No, you're not. 75 points into here to increase your healing done. That includes your Dragon Blood. That includes your Absorb Magicka. That includes your Leeching. 25 extra points in here will only give you a 1% bonus. Don't waste them. Utilize them properly. Put them somewhere where they're going to be used. This increases the amount of crit damage and crit healing you do with Magicka abilities. Dragon Blood is a Magicka ability, and if you pop it and crit, this will give you that extra bonus to it. So 45% of your maximum health if Igneous Shields is on already, plus the fact that Igneous Shields will give you, obviously, the protection from underneath it, which will help. And if you crit, you will get a 20% increase to that. That will basically fill your bar from 0. It's really, really strong. And if you want to guarantee that you get this, keep an eye on this passive here. When you block 3 spells within 10 seconds of each one, your next Magicka ability used within 5 seconds will always be a critical strike. Igneous Shields cannot do any crits or damage or heals, so that doesn't count for this. So when you cast it, it doesn't consume this buff. What does consume it is Dragon Blood. So if you keep an eye on this passive, you'll see this actual CP tree as kind of a little buff in the window below. If you see this pop up and it's got 3 stacked up in the bonus for the window itself, you can see this image and then 3 underneath it. There's a video for Vengeance OP on my channel, actually check that out. You will guarantee that your Dragon Blood will crit. So you can take this bonus all the time. The 19% crit chance we have doesn't even apply if you block 3 Magicka abilities within 10 seconds of each other, because you can guarantee that you're going to use this. Now, 2 in Master Arms just because there's nowhere to put them. 1 in Pearson as well, there's nowhere to put it. This is important. 64 points into physical and poison and disease damage. This buffs your leeching set. More damage it does, the more heals you receive from it, because it's based on the 100% of the damage done. Thaumaturge, 23% into here, also benefits from it. It does buff the leeching. I know on the stats it says Master at Arms does, but it doesn't actually apply. It just shows you the figures. This does work. It boosts it. So Thaumaturge and Mighty to get as much out of the leeching as possible, meaning that we've got 120 points in this tree, so we can take advantage of Last Stand. When you fall below 20% health, which won't be very often, especially since we've got a massive health bar, when you do, you will actually get Major Heroism, granting you 3 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 8 seconds. Every 20 seconds this can be applied, so you can make yourself go really, really low health on purpose and then pop this. Also, Exploiter, if anything goes off balance, and it will, especially since you're blocking because they bounce off your shield and go off balance, you will get a 10% increase to your damage. Meaning your leeching and all these bonuses here all stack up together, doing more damage per tick, doing more heals to you per tick. Now, I'm going to show you a really quick demonstration of me running around in trial with lots of stuff hitting me on my own, and you can kind of gauge for yourself how strong the sets are. But, obviously, just remember, you won't need to necessarily do this. Nobody has to tank this much stuff. It's just a demonstration of the sets. Anyway, here we go. So hopefully that helped, hopefully that wasn't too boring, and now hopefully you have a better understanding of how to approach this particular build, how to utilize its recovery and sustain, rather than just holding block and hoping everything goes well. So, first of all, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support, and if you're not subscribed, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside of YouTube, there are some links in the description for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website XynodeGaming.com. Don't forget, I live stream almost every night live on Twitch from 10 PM UK time as well, and that link is also in the description. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.